So what happens is that if the hopelessness is not that strong, you may not touch on it for quite a while in therapy. So that's not the case that interesting to us at this point. But either we have hopelessness in the present, it's going to bring up the hopelessness on second line, and chances are we'll get the hopelessness on the third line as well, on the first line as well. Now we have all this. Or we can only go here. We don't have the whole feeling. However, because we don't have the whole feeling, we're not really completely cleaning up the sequence. We're not really finishing the whole sequence. We're not really getting the whole benefit from the sequence. So this hopelessness starts coming up. I came to therapy to get better. I'm not getting better. It's the two things. Either I'm not getting better because I'm not getting deeper enough yet, I don't have access completely, but the hopelessness is there and it starts shooting up and it attaches itself to the therapy. Or the hopelessness is so powerful that the minute we open up a little bit, the hopelessness comes. Now, the hopelessness has to go somewhere. Where is it going to go? In the present. Where is it going to attach itself? It's going to attach to itself to the situation that was supposed, or that is supposed to give you hope.
Right.
The therapy. Mm-hmm. The therapy is going to make my life better. I'm going to do the therapy so I can finally have a life. I'm going to do the therapy so I'm not in pain all the time. So the therapy is the hope for everything, to make life, the big life, fine, perfect, wonderful, and happy. And it doesn't happen right away.
It's the hopelessness that's down there.
Well, it depends how much access or how much of the hopelessness comes up. How do we deal with it? Which is really why I wanted to talk about this tonight, because we do see that. Now, the consequences of the hopelessness are, okay, the therapy doesn't work, so I might as well smoke. I might as well act out all over the place. It doesn't work anyway. So now there is no hope. So acting out, doing the things you're not supposed to do, not taking the medication, just let yourself be crazy because nothing works anyway, right? And ultimately suicide, obviously. So because then there is no hope, what is the result, the ultimate result of there is no hope? There's no reason for me to live. So the question for us is, and leave the therapy. It doesn't work for me, so why should I stay in therapy? So the question for us is, how do we deal with that? How do we recognize it? How do we know where it comes from? And how do we deal with it? Well, how do we recognize it? We have to hear it. What is the language of hopelessness?
Can't.
I can't what?
Can't. Whatever. Not gonna make it.
I can't, yeah, I can't.
It's too much.
It's too much. What?
Nothing I do.
Everything I do doesn't work.
Exactly, nothing I do ever works.
Right, that's the same thing. Nothing I do is right.
Nothing I do is right. There's no point trying.
And for some people, it feels like death. That's what you were feeling a little bit today.
You were? You want to talk about it? Okay, so yeah, it's just like the language of hopelessness is no matter what I do, it doesn't work. It doesn't, why should I try? It's not worth trying anymore, which is really the bottom line. I can't try because it doesn't work. Let's say this is the primal zone. This is over the primal zone, and this is under the primal zone. When we are over the primal zone, it's because we are what?
Overloaded.
We are overloaded. Meaning what?
And underdefended, I would say.
Too many things.
Too much pain coming up. We are overloaded, and we can't go down because there is too much right here. So our defense system is very vigilant, saying, you're not going anywhere. This is way too much. You can't let yourself feel that. So we are there. In the primal zone, of course, when we are in the primal zone, it's like being in the sun at the beach, being really comfortable and letting things happen. It comes up. And we are feeling. It just like gushes out. That's what was happening with you today, right? You just let it go and it goes, and you are in the right zone, and therefore the feeling is felt for what it is, and after it we will have the insights, and after it we will have the comfort, we will have the payoff from the feeling, because the feeling belongs right here and it's in the right place, and there's not too much and there's enough. Under the primal zone, what happens? It's like we are too repressed, or we have acted out too much. So the pain is sort of comfortable inside and it's not coming out, okay? Or we've taken too much medication, or we have done too much drugs, or we have acted out too much. We're now under the primal zone. Or it's a feeling we felt many times, and therefore now when we trigger, it's not such a big deal. We don't need to feel right away. It can wait until more things is coming up, or until we have someone who's going to help us dredge it, but it's not urgent that we have to feel it. It can wait, it's no big deal. Which is what happens when we've done a lot of the same feeling. After a while, we could be triggered, but we don't have to feel, because it remains under the primal zone. There's not that much there. It's no big deal. Under the primal zone is basically you cannot feel, because the pain is not strong enough, or is not coming strongly enough to your consciousness.
Okay.
Whatever the reason is, okay?
It's not strong enough.
It's not strong enough. So we are feeling bad, we may be depressed, but we cannot access the feeling because it doesn't have the oomph that's going to allow us to feel it, okay? Well, and as a result, by the way, your defense is not that strong unless you are defended across the board. Some people come to us, they're across the board defended. So then there's the two cases, the case that there's not that much pain and they're so defended for so long that everything is under the primal zone, or they are so totally defended that they are above the primal zone, and then you make a little hole and whoosh, you get an explosion, which is when they need medication. That's why it gets a little complicated there. So I want to stay with just the simple one. Under the primal zone we can't feel because it's not strong enough for whatever reason. Primal zone we can feel, and over the primal zone it's too much. Where is hopelessness in there? It's here. When it is attached, when it's attaching itself to third line, because we have a lot of first line hopelessness, second line hopelessness, and now it's represented in the present, we are now over the primal zone because it's too much. It's just too much. So we are hopeless. And it attaches itself to everything, but it attaches itself into the present as long as we can't travel back into the past. So the therapy does not work. The therapy cannot help me. Nothing can help me. I am not going to make it. It is hopeless. Now the question is, and that kind of hopelessness is usually over the primal zone because it is so powerful if it comes from there. Now if I want to get very, very fancy, and I want to go to the hopelessness under the primal zone, that happens too. When someone is so hopeless that since the beginning their imprint is not to try anything. They gave up. They gave up long ago. They gave up at birth, they gave up as a child, and now they are hopeless anyway. So why even try the therapy? Why even try to do anything? And in that sense, they are under we cannot access anything because they are like blah. We were talking about this patient this morning, and it's very hard to make him to grab anything in him because he won't give us anything. He won't give us anything because what's the point? Why should I try? So I don't try. And because he doesn't try, he also does not really get triggered. So he's here, he's like underwater in a way. Here we're in the storm, trying to survive. Here we are underwater, and we're sort of letting ourselves float. And it's really difficult because it means that the way to the therapy on both those cases is very different.